Lucky Boys Podcast.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the power lies behind the camera. Definitely.
A lot of it has to do with chemistry as well between director of photography and the actor. I feel like it's a very careful dance that everyone must have, and they need to know their position and the right steps. And a lot of times it's difficult to do, but I think that's because of trust and kind of letting go some of that power. Did you guys have any of those challenges?
I did, for sure. In the beginning, I think that taught me a lesson when I did. If you're from New York, there's a little group called the Asian American Film Lab, and they do a competition called the 72-hour shootout, where they give you a theme on the day of, and you got 72 hours to execute your stories. I think the first time the actor was writing something, and I was like, but no, we don't have the budget. I'm thinking all this in my head. I was like, and my friend's like, let it go, Pat. Let him write. I'm like, all right, whatever. And it's funny thing. I'll tell you who's that person later on. And then the second time, again, and they're like, hey, Pat, do your vision. Let's share our story. Like, but you're editing it, this and that. And after a while, I started trusting myself and trusting people. And I was like, hey, this kind of flows. You gotta let people do their job, so you can make it be easier on you, you know. And that was kind of hard at the beginning because I was editing all by myself, writing all by myself. It's tough. I mean, did you feel that? Joey?
Feel
like letting go and just like, you know, I trust you, edit, direct, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helped that I saw your work in that Chinatown.
Oh, The Last Tip.
The Last Tip.
No,
right?
you showed
Plaza?
like 3 films together.
Oh, Love Express, The Last Tip, and
So I mean,
Confucius
I think
Plaza.
the trust came from there a little bit because you created that community and they were all there to support you. I'm like, actually, you know, they say marketing is like 50% of it, right? So if you don't have that audience, you know, to support you, like we have with this, I feel like there's a good community around it. Yeah, it's hard. It's for me to see that. I was like, yeah, okay, this guy's trying to do something, and I trusted in that way.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think with A Father's Son, not because people saw my work with Henry, but like you said, well, they're craving for authenticity, and the film was sponsored by the community. Like, you don't know, but the names behind the backers on Kickstarter, 80% was from the Chinatown community.
Wow.
It's crowdfunded, right? So it's
crowdfunded, yeah.
And I love that
grassroots.
breaks that myth that Asians don't support each other. I call BS on that all day.
Yeah. I mean, there's some fractions because some people are like, well, that's a Korean, I can't relate, this and that.
That's a what?
Korean American, South Asian, because people, they categorize as Asian American.
Right.
You know, other people are like, well, that's Korean, I can't relate, I don't know if I should support that. Or that's South Asian, or that's So I think right now everyone's realized, now let's help each other as a collective whole.
I think it's changing. I could see that before being extremely prevalent. And I think that part of what made us all come together a bit closer is this whole COVID thing. I think we started to realize
closer and also apart.
I think okay. You hold on. You know what?
Physically apart.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the thing, I think they're starting to realize that even though we're different in terms of you're Korean or you're South Asian or wherever you're from, they're starting to see that they don't see us like that.
They don't, yeah.
They look at you as your eyes all do the same thing, and that's what you are. And I don't really care to know the difference.
Yeah. And I think Asian Americans needs to be aware of that, saying, hey, we got to stop having these little internal infighting and start to unify. I think really briefly, like the Black Lives Matter, we see that a little bit now. You know, everyone's helping the Black community, Asian American community. Because before this really big Black Lives Matter, I mean, like, it's been happening for quite some time, but before then, the Black community, I saw at least on social media, they were supporting during the hate crimes. Like, yo, don't do that to Asians. Why?
Absolutely. I think Cardi, even like what I know Cardi B spoke out against it. I think Lupe Fiasco also spoke out against, like, why are you attacking random Asians? Like, they got nothing to do with this whole COVID thing. What
exactly,
are you talking
man.
about?
And I think they need to be aware of that. Like, hey, these people are speaking up, and they are like our forefathers. You know, they went through the struggle, and we should learn from them. And also, going really quick, like, the civil rights movement, like Chewy said, there's an Asian American history that hasn't been told. But I remember you guys talked to it with Will. There's a series on PBS that displays that, and we need to show that in the educational system. It's like, hey, listen, this is both communities that united and helped for this cause, and we need to keep reminding that to the new generation.
Absolutely,
and not just for the politics, but also for the arts.
Yeah. So, I think it's a beautiful thing when we start welcoming other cultures and supporting other cultures, because in return, when it comes to unifying and having that unity, there's a special feeling that I really can't eloquently put into words. And it goes as far as we're standing together, uniting with one another when you know that something is blatantly wrong. But on the other end of the spectrum, when we're together and we're not fighting, when we're together at a barbecue, when we're together playing sports.
That's why there's a lot of Chinese films that always has food porn, because it always brings us together.
Or dim sum, people gathering together at the one table.
I'm just telling you, like, it is so refreshing when we don't draw this line, this BS line, just because your skin is different, your hair is different, or whatever. And we draw this weird line, like, you don't get me, or good for you because you look like that, and that's really what it is. And we're together, and we just forget about all that for a hot second. It's a special feeling, and I can't really explain it. But I was having, I was having a barbecue with my friends, and I'm just going, man, this is incredible. Like, we're not here. It was just, we're all different races, and it didn't matter. And I'm out playing basketball with my friends, and it's all good. It's all love. We're all support one another, and there's no politics, and we're just hanging out, and it's just something as simple as that. And then to the other extreme, I'm out here at a rally supporting them and their rights, and they're right back at a rally supporting Asian Americans and Asian rights, and just righteousness all across, justice. And it's just a special feeling when we see all of this. But I would like for all of us, including, just people from all walks of life, just so we could just forget about this whole thing where we gotta label everyone as different. We're really all the same. We really are. I mean, I've talked about this in another podcast, but it's ridiculous. I mean, you're really doing yourself a disservice by not including or welcoming people in your circle, getting to know them only because they look different or they think different.
Yeah.
That inherent prejudice that somehow we've learned along the way and picked up.
And that's a good thing about, at least with social media and the internet. They at least help us bring awareness and culture to what's going on. Like a few years ago, like in my younger years, not many people were interested, like black girls, into K-pop. Now, because of K-pop, they see that because of YouTube, Twitter. Don't get me wrong, TikTok. I'm too old for that. But they see that and they're loving it, and I'm like, wow, they're loving that Asian culture that 15, 20 years ago I didn't see, because back then we used to live in our own bubble. We didn't have social media. Like we clicked on like black, hang out with blacks, Asian, hang out Asian, Hispanic. Now that our children and the social media, they see, it's like, oh, I want to tap into that culture because I love that dance, that food. Let's do it, and there's no prejudice. I think the only people who are prejudiced, like the old school people. Some are willing to be woke, and some are not. So
they're like stuck in that mindset that they can't change. It's like sort of like, ignorance is bliss, so I'm just gonna stay here.
I think a lot of it also has to do, minus the hate, but just some people just have this superiority complex where they need to know that they're better than someone. And it's a crazy way to think about it. When you really drill down just one little level, going, I'm better than you because I was born into this race. That's it. No skill set. Like, you didn't beat me one-on-one in a tournament, or we did a film together and we're comparing like which film is better, or we're at a boxing match and you're just going, well, I'm better than you because I'm this color. And that's incredibly stupid to me. When you think about it, I think it's uncivilized, and I think it will never age well. I think 10 years from now, 5 years from now, your grandkids or your great grandkids, and you go on camera and you somewhere and they can look back at a catalog, or whether it's 1600s, you write something and you were known to think that this is the superior race because it is idiotic. It is super idiotic. And there's just so many special things from every culture that we can take. And yes, you can pick on each culture's flaws because it's different from yours, and it can look very foreign. And I get that. But you can look at that, or you can look at the glass half full and go, wow, that's very beautiful, this dance that they have, or the colors that they have, or this technology, or this medicine, this way to naturally heal, or not. It's just, there's a whole thing. And it's just frustrating that we live in a society that's not completely all in on this when it's so common sense.
And I think like film and media plays a huge role into that.
Absolutely.
That language, because you're introducing people who might not be open or aware of this of communities outside of their own community, and you're doing them the service of people, introducing those stories and those people to strangers, and you're educating and you're enlightening them. That's why it's important to have conversations like this. The Lucky Boys podcast, filmmakers, telling Asian stories, so people outside the communities can understand us.
Yeah, I know. I want to. Speaking of stories and what Jason said about the railroads, like, I'll be honest, like the black community, I think they're kind of done with like the slavery, but it's been shown in media, and then because of that, people see like the hardship, what they had to go through, the fight, and then moving forward, the civil rights. For us, I think we do need that Coolie film with them working the railroad to show our struggle, how it is. I think
like The Warrior. The Warrior shows a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, for that. But at least for a film, in the film, well executed film. The Warrior is just a little tap of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because if you think about what we were taught in school about that time period, probably not much at all.
We're not in those textbooks.
Yeah, we're probably just glossed over. And there's probably one paragraph or something like that. And me just transporting myself back to that time, it's like seeing those black and white photos that got colorized, right? You're like, oh shit, these are just real people. And if we had that experience through media told by people that are just real people like us, like Asian Americans, it could bring a different light to it. Because even me looking at photos of those guys with cues and whatever clothing, I feel very distant from that.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's like a fairy tale, like something. So to bring us closer to our history, I think history is definitely really important. And why that PBS documentary, I was like, oh shit, why didn't I watch this in school? Or because our parents are too busy fighting to survive.
Well, we're surviving, and that's the thing. When you're in survival mode, you can't get in a mode of thriving. But now we're making that transition because our parents did the surviving, and yes, a lot of us are still surviving out here, but we're not like at the level of as our parents. I mean, because they can't speak the language for the most part when they're coming here. They're taking the most low level jobs available to them, right, and with the most fucked up hours, and the most fucked up conditions. So, and just so that, and I thank all of the parents that make that sacrifice so that people like us now can pick up that mantle and continue that trend for future generations.
Yeah, and I think going back to what we were saying before is that Asian Americans getting into the creative field, being the people in the room, being the people that are, creating that content, to not be afraid to do that now, because I feel like we're stuck in a mode of thinking where we have to continue on this survival mode.
I see that.
But if people have that inclination to be creative, I say go for it, because we need you. We need people like you now. You know, and to take time and build that skill set
and nurture that. And you know what?
And nurture it.
I think it's also very important to support the people that are doing it. I think that goes a long way. I think part of wanting this whole. You can't complain about or ask about wanting better for Asian Americans without supporting Asian American. This guy right here, he's doing. I'm gonna support him, right? But a lot of the times when they say, and because I'm in the entertainment as well as you, I've met a lot of folks where they say Asian Americans, but they only mean them. And I mean, I'm sure you've read it.
I definitely experienced that for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Like they're not okay with you thriving as an Asian American, but they're okay with themselves. So when they say Asian American, I gotta sometimes read between the lines. I'm like, you're not talking about Asian Americans. You're talking about you.
That's why I felt
You're not
bad.
talking about us.
I felt bad with that PBS. I saw people on the Twitter feed saying, "Hey, it's great, but you guys forgot about the South Asians." You know, because like I don't see myself as the Koreans, the Filipinos, the Chinese. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, but man, that's Asian American history has been absent and disappearing for so long. That's one thing at a time. But yeah, they're right. They didn't feel inclusive in that group, and I really felt bad. You know, especially South Asians. They don't get no love from that.
Yeah, and we actually had a few South Asians reach out to us asking us to highlight some of their stories.
Yeah.
You know, through a podcast that's not even like huge, and they're asking for that. I mean, it's moving, but it's at a snail's pace, and I want to see these. I wish I had $1 billion and the resources where I could make all these interesting films, and I know I'll make my money back.
Yeah.
I'll know that because, like, you know, I will take that risk if I had those resources and the money, and you know, I trusted the people behind the project. I would greenlight it because number one, hey, everyone's tired of these remakes. All right, everyone's sick and tired of it. Just read between the lines, and you're giving them a fresh story, and you're having someone with a different perspective, different experiences.
That's why I like attending to these Asian American film festivals because you get when you go to Asian Americans, you don't go to see just Chinese or Korean. You get to see a lot, and even films from China too.
Yeah.
What really astonished me was I went to CAM. CAM is Center Asian American Media in San Francisco. Went to the film festival in 2016, 17. Never experienced opening night at the Castro Theater. It was a South Asian American film, Tiger Hunter. The line was wrapped around the block just to get tickets. I was like, get the fuck out of here. To see an Asian American film? I never seen that. Not even here in New York.
Yeah.
And those packed. And the film was good. I was like, wow, there's so much love in San Francisco. And it was like a mixture of like South Asian, Asian, Koreans, all that stuff on opening night. And this film I saw, like I heard Wong Kar-wai went there to see the film.
Chinatown Rising?
Yeah, it's a documentary about San Francisco's Chinatown, the history. My friend Josh and his dad directed it with my other friend James.
You said it's a documentary?
It's a documentary. It's about segregation to the civil rights movement to gentrification. It's like a huge span of history.
That's like hundreds of years.
Yeah, imagine Asian American, PBS Asian American condensed into 2 hours.
Wow.
It was tight. But Wong Kar-wai was there to see it. I mean, a famous
Hong Kong director.
Yeah, the Hong Kong director to go see an Asian American film. Impressive. And we need that, you know. I think CAM and all these Asian American film festivals shows that. I encourage all you inspiring actors, writers to attend these Asian American film festivals, even virtually if you can't go. Just support and see what's out there.
Was that like kind of your gateway drug? Like attending these like festivals, was that how you discovered these other Asian talents, Asian artists?
Not really. I think it was me taking an Asian American Studies class in college. Yeah, because it was mandatory. I mean, it's not mandatory. It was electives. Like, do you want to take? Like, absolutely. We weren't taught in the educational system. I'm paying for it, so why not? So I took the class, learned about all these authors, these movies, these documentaries. Like, I didn't know who was Vincent Chen before I took that class. I'm like, Vincent who?
Oh my gosh. Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
I didn't even know about the LA. I knew about that, but I didn't know the other side.
You didn't
of the
know
story.
the other side.
I didn't know about that. And I read all these books. I'm like, blew my mind. And that's when I started to tapping in. My professor occurs like, oh, there's a festival here, this film coming up. And Justin Lin actually came to Hunter College and was promoting Finishing the Game. I think that was his second film after Better Luck Tomorrow. Like, he was just screening in colleges in the Asian American Studies course. because this is way before Facebook and everything. So he was just trying to promote, how do I get this and how do I get my fans the attention? And that was the way, you know. And that was my gateway drug. I was like, wow, I want no more. I checked it out. This is before Netflix was streaming. I had to rent the Asian American movies like Saving Face, Alice Wu's first film.
Oh man, I have to tell you, like the only way I could have gotten Asian American films was going on eBay and freaking like looking up these titles and DVDs, and then they would cost like so much money. But it's like I want to see us represented, so I'm gonna pay up, you know, and see.
This new generation doesn't get that. They don't get. They think like, oh,
yeah,
$30. Come on,
Yeah,
$30 is nothing. You know,
like I feel like also this generation is, and our generation too, is about fitting in, right?
Yeah.
And then not thinking that your story, your experience is important. I think that's key to like look at yourself and your history and not just try to fit into this world now, you know.
Make it to fit into yours.
yeah.
Yeah, or at least like reflection. I think that's important for the community too.
But we're lucky, being that we're Chinese Americans. I think, I don't know what for you, but for me, I was lucky because we actually got to see representation on VHS tapes. My family would actually go and rent movies from Hong Kong and stuff.
Yeah.
So I got to see that. If it wasn't for that, I'd be like, oh man, I never saw any of my face.
I remember as a child going into, I guess it was like they had all these VHS stores in Chinatown where you
In the
I
basement.
missed those. Yeah.
yeah,
the
remember
basement.
those? Yeah, in the basement where you go and rent, or when you go downstairs of the store.
Yeah.
And there was a video store full of Asian movies from Hong Kong, and I remember going, and I was just a little boy, man, and I don't know, I really enjoyed watching films where people actually look like me, because in the movies when I would watch, it would be, I felt like, especially back then, it would be a caricature of who we were. And I really didn't like the way we were looked at. We were always looked at in the older films. And some today, too. They do a really shitty job. But we were like nerds, getting
Dishwasher.
picked on, dishwasher, some low-level shit, right?
Ain't the love interest, no way.
Right. Or some extra being dumped around and being picked on, or either that, if we were like this evil Chinese guy, it's just, or this gangster, and then we taught that chink gangster a lesson, and man, I was like, that's not how we are. I'm just a little boy watching this, and I was like, man, this is nuts.
But it's funny how I feel like a lot of us found our way to those films, because we weren't seeing it, and like we found a way to go into, some references for our film too were from Johnny To. I used to watch Young and the Dangerous because you wanted to see those people, right? And if they weren't here, we found a way. We found a way to find ourselves. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And you know what? It would be a watching party, at our friends. Yo, guys, I got this new movie. I got this new, The Young and Dangerous.
Dangerous 3.
Or the Chow Yun Fat when he had this thing, or
Hard Boiled.
Or the comedian, the Chinese comedian, and we just had. There were so many movies, and we would all be so excited.
Stephen Chow, right? Stephen
Chow, yeah, exactly, Stephen Chow, and we would all just sit down in my friend's house. The go-to place was his house, and we would just all meet up and sit down and just watch the films together. It was incredible. It was awesome to see those stories because we wanted to hear, to listen, to feel those stories. And they weren't Asian American. They were
Hong Kong films. Yeah.
But we fuck with it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it's still a fun watch. It's still great stories. Still, and that just opened. Yeah.
I do.
And that opens everything up now. Then I started watching Korean films.
Yeah.
And I'm now have a strong appreciation for the way Koreans do their style. And their cinematography is off the chain.
Yeah. No, they are. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's such an interesting thing because now our influences came from there. Not because we wanted to, because we didn't find it here.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. There's an untapped potential.
Yeah.
There's an untapped potential for us because the world's smaller. We can bring it to this market now that there's filmmakers here that know the story. Now they can dive deeper into it, and like I said, they have to find a way to monetize it because I do agree it's all about the money. And once you do that, it's a global thing. It's a global
Yeah.
thing. You'll be able to.
I feel like it was always a global thing because who were Johnny Toe influenced by? Probably American movies. Like, I want to make those badass characters too, except here.
Yeah,
And they
everyone's
did
Right, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah,
like the
shoot them
spaghetti
up. Like,
westerns.
hey, let's take that. And now it's so funny how things come around. It's like they took that, and then we're watching them
yeah.
because they took it from
It's kind of
Americans.
like Apple and Android. Right? Android would copy iPhone.
Yeah.
iPhone would take some features here, and then now they're just kind of like
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
That's what competition does. That's what, when people just kind of remix it, take something and bring their own life into it. I think I'm okay with that. I don't like a copycat like one for one.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with taking something and reimagining it to make it that authentic, right? And just give it that taste. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that with food. I know there's a big debate that where they go where the purists will say, well, no, that should live there and only there, and I disagree with that. I think even Tarantino had something to say about that, where he's notoriously known for
Scorsese's influence.
right,
Yeah.
and he just takes something and just kind of makes it his own way, and everyone knows that it's him. It has his fingerprint on it.
Yeah.
And I'm even like that with food. Like, people are like, nobody should be changing Chinese food or Korean food anyway around. And I'm going, and I tasted some of these fusions. I'm like, man, this is pretty damn good.
As long as it's done respectfully.
Yeah.
As long as
even-
it's done respectfully, they're not
even,
trying to.
Even the Korean director for Parasite, he dedicated like some of the things that
Scorsese,
he did
right?
to Scorsese
Yeah.
and other American filmmakers.
Yeah. That took a lot from him. I'm like, not many people do that. I'm like, wow, this guy took all the fucking awards. I was surprised. I'll be honest. I did not expect it to win Best Domestic Picture. I was like,
Oh yeah,
foreign.
right?
Foreign, yes, absolutely.
that was crazy for me.
Yeah, I was
that
like, foreign. Yeah, I was like, absolutely. Director, who knows? But when he won Best Domestic, I was like, what? Because it's unheard of. No picture ever won
international film,
international
right?
and domestic. I was like, it's all politics. No way.
Yeah.
When we talked, I was like, wow, we made history. I was like, what's next? Then that was before Mulan. I was like, Mulan's coming out, Shang-Chi's coming out, this is coming out, Warrior Season 2's coming out, all our friends' films.
Oh, I'm so excited for Warriors too.
And then boom, fucking pandemic. You're like, what?
Yeah,
Just
man.
put a kibosh on everything.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
cap. Yeah.
Yeah, because we were building some serious momentum.
It was,
We really
yeah.
were. And even some of our, I guess, Asian celebrity friends were out there, and they were like, man, it's a good time for us. They're really looking for people like us. And at that point, I even stepped out of acting. At that point, we were just doing the podcast. I was really more focused on this, being a family man and my 9 to 5. And they were saying, Will, are you stupid? Get back into acting now. They're like, they are looking. And I was like,
Nah, but Will, they're looking for people who has. It's different now. It's not about the talent or looks. It's just like how many influence you have, because they're tapping your follower
Your
as
network.
as your ad.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Because they told me, and they said it's all about, it doesn't matter if you're, and I know some super talented folks, but they've been overlooked for several years.
Oh, yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
because they think, they don't, number one, they don't have a large network. And number two, they just,
what do you mean I not like it? They probably don't want the attention. I don't know.
it's not about how sexy you are all the time or all this. It's all about, this really comes down to how many people you can reach.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely.
A lot of it, because there's a ton of sexy people around, and there's
Yeah.
a ton of people with super talent. But it's about if you could fill those seats.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's really it.
And that's a bad thing about social media, which I don't like.
But I think that's a part of the problem. Everything's it's a popularity contest now.
It is, man.
Even president, the highest office in America is based on a popularity contest.
I'll be honest. I knew he was going to win because if you look at the past, Ronald Reagan, he was an actor.
Yeah,
He won.
yeah.
Schwarzenegger became the governor because that's the Terminator. Jesse Ventura.
Jeffrey Ventura.
What was he? Governor.
Governor,
yeah.
Governor too.
Yeah.
Right there, man. So I knew he was going to win. It's like it's popularity contest. But hopefully, luckily, I'm not saying, hey, Republican, Democrat, we need to make a change now. That's all.
I want to go back on the film A Father's Son.
Okay, yeah, man.
We touched on the influences that you had,
Yeah.
HK movies. How many times how many conversations did you have with each other about how to approach this film and give it the authenticity that it deserves? Because it's written by a New Yorker, Henry Chang. You guys are from New York. You know, and you guys lived it. You guys grew up in the neighborhood.
For me personally, I mean, because I wrote the script.
Wrote the script based off of the original story from Henry.
No, off the characters. Because going back to the politics, I mean, we took little scenes here and there, but we didn't want to adapt the whole like book 1 or 2.
Got it.
We want to just make it like a little spin-off. But as I was writing, there was another draft called The Dragon's Den, and I wrote it, and I was like, I read it. Some of the actors read it. They're like, I love it. And I was like, nah, this is too gangster. This is just the stereotypical that I don't want to go to. So I scrapped that after like 2 months of writing that. And Henry loved the script too. But I was like, I don't feel that's a Jack Yu story. So I asked my friend Eddie Sheh, who's also the EP on the project. He was helping me with the writing, and then he's like, what can we do to change it up? And I was like, hey, we see the glorify of Chinese American gangsters, but we never saw the repercussion of it. Let's tell a story about that. And he's like, oh shit, yeah, we've never seen that. We've seen that in black cinema and stuff like that, like, you know, like Juice and Boys in the Hood, but we never get to see that in Asian American films. So I was like, let's concentrate on that, where there's a gang fight, but how are the families taking that when your kid is in trouble or dead or a victim?
I think that's interesting because you have to be an Asian American to be like, yo, that's enough. Like, we don't need any more of those stories. Let's do it this way. You know what I mean? So you have to have that perspective, and I think that's what you had.
Thanks, man. And it's like what Chewy said. Like Jason said, like we never had that representation here for Asian Americans, like who are influenced with directors and writers. And I had to take that element from my childhood, Johnny To, Andrew Lau, Wong Kar-wai, all these. Even Wang Jing, who did all those Stephen Chow films, to inspire the cinematic and the storyline of this project. You know?
Yeah. How much of your personal experiences gets put into that in the way you grew up? I mean, you grew up in Queens, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Queens mostly.
During a pretty rough time.
Yeah.
How much of that plays into your filmmaking?
I'll say, I think Father Son is probably the closest. The Last Tip and Love Express, all the films I did. Not so much. That was more of like the romantic side of my side.
Love Express.
Yeah.
That's good. You got to have one of those.
Yeah, you gotta have one of those. Yeah. But with that, I think when you watch the film, the first couple minutes, that's definitely influenced by my background. I used to hang out with certain demographic people that.
Which movie is this? I'm sorry.
Oh no, my friends.
Okay.
That's my friends, and like we had a culture, like the way what we dressed, the way we talked, our hairstyle, and everything. When we casted the gangsters in Father Son, it hurt me because I didn't want to go up to an actor. Hey, Will, you want to play a gangster? Mm-hmm. And for you, you'd be like, not again. But no. But this is why, and then I had to explain myself, and I felt bad on the other side, you know. And they glad to say yes. And the funny part is, and you see in the teaser, I wanted to dye your hair. I was like, you gotta dye your hair blonde. He's like, why? It's like, that was the style back then. And they had long bangs. I was like, keep that, don't cut it. And we styled it, and people were like, who thought they were laughing, like, oh my god, you're taking us back. The hairstylist was saying,
you threw some Jinko jeans in there too.
I couldn't find that. I wish.
You had to go eBay and then
either Jinko or Request.
Vintage,
the Diamond R, man.
Yeah.
Diamond R.
Yeah.
No, we thought about that. I even asked Vera. It was hard. Our costume designer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Jinko jeans those wide leg jeans was more of a Queens thing, not Chinatown thing. I think Chinatown still.
No, Chinatown had a lot of it.
But there's still a little bit of taper, like the OG gangsters.
So there was a mixed in China. You would see that blend. I think with the older OGs at that time coming in, it was tapered. It was like skinny jeans like us now.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny how history kind of just, fashion just goes around.
I prefer this, man, because those wide legs, like, in Chinese, it's called mate. That means, are you mopping the floor?
Yeah.
I remember it getting so dirty.
Yeah, it used to get so dirty because we had to tuck it in the back of our
I did that.
Oh
Some people
God.
safety pinned
it. Yeah. So I mean, those were the days, man.
Going back.
I mean, those were the days when like rollerblading and skateboarding was really cool, and a lot of us would be like rebels. There'll be like 20 or 30 of us rollerblading. And at the park just grinding, doing rails and holding on to cars all the way. Like I remember, I don't know if I was gonna say this, but like we'll catch a ride from Chinatown. We'll be hanging out like, in Chinatown, and we'll go to Union Square because that's where all the skaters were.
Yeah.
A lot of the skaters would go there, or City Hall, because it had all the rails and the long stairs, and we could do all these like tricks. And we would usually go from that end down there just by holding on to a cab or cars on our whole way there, just avoiding piling. There'd be like a chain of us too. It was just it would be crazy. It was like
You can't do that now.
gang. You can't. Oh no, this was way before.
Yeah, I know, man.
All what it is. But those are interesting times.
That was the influence of it, and I just took that element of my youth and applied it to the story and also how the characters look.
Right.
And then the rest I adapted from Henry's characters, like Jack Hughes' persona. That's not me. That's all Henry. Like how he's thinking, how he's talking, his mannerism, and stuff like that. That's why when a lot of people see, like some people like 50-50, like, oh my God, you got Ronnie. Congrats. And I'm like, Ronnie Chen, really? The comedian? Like, hey man, you'd be surprised. A lot of comedians are good actors.
Yeah,
Like Robin
totally.
Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy.
For sure. And you know what?
Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's so underrated.
yeah.
Like he is
So good.
They think he can only do things like Ace Ventura, but
Yeah.
No, man.
I mean, when
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, bro. Come on.
killed it
Show.
on that. He killed it on that.
Yeah.
But I saw the photos with Ronnie Chang, right? And I thought to myself, this motherfucker does not look funny right now. He looked like the last. I was like, that's pretty good casting.
No, I mean,
Because it's hard. Like I remember when I first saw Jamie Foxx in a serious film, like and I just
Collateral or something.
I just
that was his breakthrough. Yeah,
I just couldn't stop looking at Jamie Foxx like a funny guy on TV because I
Yeah,
grew up
Mad
I was-
TV.
Yeah,
In Living Color.
In Living Color.
In Living
Yeah.
Color.
Wanda.
He also had his
and-
sitcom.
and the Jamie Foxx show.
Yeah.
Right. So I used to watch it all the time, and then when I saw him in a film, I was like, oh, I don't know. I came in very skeptical,
Yeah.
and then I was like, yo, he's got some fucking chops. Like
Oh,
he's got range. Like Jamie Foxx can. Like I think this is not going to be the last one, and then he just kept getting better. And when he did, was it Ray?
Yeah. Ray Charles. About Ray Charles.
But then sometimes we do miss the old Jamie Foxx. Like sometimes, like I miss Eddie Murphy, the old school Eddie Murphy, because
Yeah.
he's funny.
I just go back to Jamie Foxx interviews because he always slays. Whenever he's like on a talk show,
Oh, he's great.
He's an
slays.
entertainer. He
Yeah.
just
He
entertains,
slays.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I would love for him to do some of that old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's dope in that time, and I get it. He's progressed where he is now. But whenever he goes into the interviews, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you get to see.
That's old glimpses
Yeah,
of Jamie
he's
Foxx.
such a phenomenal storyteller. Like I just fucking sit here and just, he's so entertaining.
He's like a kid again when he gets
yeah, he's like a big kid,
Yeah.
but just the way he does it too, it's so beautiful. I feel like I'm just like hanging out with some of my old friends that I grew up with actually. So it was kind of nice. It's kind of nice seeing like a talent that. So when I saw Rennie Chang on that, I'm just a photo though, and I know it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to extrapolate a photo
Yeah.
and connect it to a talent. I know that, all right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that I didn't expect that
Not many people were.
because he's a funny guy that he always wears a suit. And I saw him in Crazy Rich Asians. He was like this angry, cynical character. So I was like, maybe part of that can translate this, but in a serious way to your film. I mean, I didn't see a film obviously, but I thought just from the looks, I'm not gonna sleep on Ronnie.
No, I think people were after they saw the photos and some of the from the teaser, they were shocked, and that's great, And there was one time like Chewie did a great job like setting up, and Ronnie was just in character sitting on the table. I was like, damn man, Ronnie, you look like a Hong Kong movie star. He's like, yeah, whatever. I was like, no, you do, because like his hair's not slicked back as from the Daily Show. Everything's tight, like suits are tighter, shirts are tight. Because we had to capture the 90s film, because our film is based in 1992, 93. So everything was loose fit. So Ronnie's like wearing these like loose fit shirts and all the stuff that you don't see him as. So when he take that, like, oh shit, like, okay. And that's going back to the gangsters, like dyeing their hair. So we were trying to capture that 90s nostalgic that I remembered. And sometimes I would be asking like, Drew, do you remember this? Do you remember this? Vera, do you remember that? And when the actors came, the ones that played gangsters, when they were getting dressed, Vera laughed because she saw the hair, not because you know, she was like making fun. She was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this is like hot flashes." Like she was like, "This is crazy." Like you actually dyed their hair blonde.
And you know what was weird, because when people would see guys with dyed hair, long bangs back in the day, there was a sense of fear. It would almost be equivalent to seeing like a blood, you know, with a red bandana on. You know that's you know, that person's affiliate or Crip or
blue bandana. Yeah.
Yeah, just know that they're affiliated with a certain group. So when you saw like an Asian person with dyed hair, and you a certain color of dyed hair, and you like, oh, they're probably with this group. That group's very dangerous. So right away you would want to avoid eye contact with this person.
Yeah.
You know, it's very interesting the way that worked, because now you take that person, that style, you bring it to today, people are gonna laugh the shit out of you. Like,
Yeah, man. And
You're K-pop. You're in K-pop.
yeah, you're a K-pop star.
And you really, and the sad part is you can't really find it on Google. Like I tried to Google 90s style, only comes up K-pop. And then I take some of the reference to Vera and Jason, like, and even our production designer, Wing, like this is the style, and it was just hard because no one really are willing to post up
Didn't you
those
take
photos.
the old photos, Polaroids with your friends, those disposables?
I could have, but when I moved to Elmhurst, it's all boxed up, so I didn't want to dig it. But yeah, there were a few photos, and plus, like, I can't really share those photos.
That's true.
I really can't.
That's true. You can't share those photos.
I mean, going back to like Ronnie showing him, and for us, he's the hero, right? Like we're gonna show him as a hero, as we saw the people in the Hong Kong films, you know. And I think we as Asian Americans have more of a sensitivity towards that. Like we really want to portray them as our heroes, you know. And I think that can only come from us, you know. So I think that's why it's important for us to keep making films
Right.
where we're the heroes.
Right, because you guys have that experience. Not only did you guys get that influence from watching other films growing up, but you also lived through a lot of these moments, and you get to see. It's almost like you're a reporter. You're giving this firsthand witness account, and you're able to extrapolate some of those stories during your time growing up in New York, whether it was Queens, Brooklyn, or Manhattan. And it's somewhat, you know, it's interesting that you say that. You can't, you know, even when you Google it, you can't find any photos of it, any style, because it was the style, the prevalent style.
Dude, when they did Fresh Off the Boat episode when Eddie Huang's character was trying to get Jinko jeans, I laughed.
Yeah.
Because like, my God, no one has done that. And that was a good episode. Like, he was trying to buy that. And it was like $80 back then for those fucking jeans.
It was crazy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and we get all tattered and yeah. Oh man, those are those are good times, man.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. You know, we need people to tell these stories because we can't let our history be non-existent. You know, if people didn't know better, the future generations, Asian Americans, think that we just plopped in here like it was all good. You know, and I'm glad we live in a digital era where we can catalog all of this. Like, you know, I almost look at this podcast as a catalog of history, because as time goes by, when we're long and gone, you know, people may look back to this to see what Asian Americans at that time were going through, and even before that, and what was it like for them growing up in New York City? What was it like for them trying to be a filmmaker, or what was their relationship with police officers, or politics, or work, and all this dynamic? And hopefully, if they're watching this 100 years from now, they're going, wow, I'm glad that they moved the needle so much that we don't feel less than today, that we are all equal. Mission accomplished. But it would be sad.
There's always a but.
It would be sad.
Yeah.
If, you know,
It was the same conversations that were.
it's
that
just
they're having.
recycling.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
and I'll tell you what, because I read a comment earlier on, not within our, just in general, what's going on. I think one of those Asian news sites, right, that pushes out media that happens to Asians, like whenever something negative happens to Asians, they post it, right? It's very sensationalized, but you know,
I think I know which one you're talking about.
yeah. So I got into the comment section. I got into like, yeah. So and I looked at it, and there, someone commented, it doesn't feel like 2020. It feels like it's 1920. And that made me go, holy shit. That's 100 years ago already. 1920 was 100 years ago. And they were fighting the same fight. So I'm hoping, I'm being, I guess, a bit optimistic that by 2120, that
I mean, it's
it
only
wouldn't be the
recently we
same.
have voices, man. Well, because we never voiced our opinion because, like, our immigrant fans, like, hey, keep your head down, just get the money, get a stable job, raise a new family. Like, repeat, we're not cattle. But now with Twitter, I mean, again, good thing about Twitter, we able to voice it. Like, hey, we don't like this. Or, well, this is positive. Now we can share it, and now we have a voice. I think that's good. Yeah, I think it's slowly shifting, bro.
I think
totally
we've been
agree.
hiding for too long.
Yeah, we are. We haven't definitely been hiding.
We've been hiding for too long. And now that there's a few of us speaking up, we need to charge forward alongside.
But we gotta be responsible how we say things.
Absolutely right.
Because sometimes we mix emotions with going on, like with the 89-year-old grandma. I didn't want to watch that video because enough was enough. I see people getting stabbed, slashed. I was like, all right, I'm aware of it, but I don't want to see that video. And, oh, man, yeah. But you know what? But someone posted up there. Everyone's doing rallies and showing like, hey, we got to stop this. And that's good. And that's what we need to see more.
Yeah, for sure.
And then who's supporting behind us or side by side? Black people and white.
Yeah.
And that's documented. In
That's-
100 years from now,
yes.
people will see that.
That's that unit. And we've been out to those rallies, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's like 2/3 are Asian and a third is whites, blacks, Hispanics. They're there. They're there alongside with us.
Yeah.
And they're just as loud, if not louder.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's gonna be more people, but with the whole COVID thing, people are scared because of the loved ones and stuff like that. That's why I wish I could attend, but I'm still with family and
Right.
I don't
No,
want
that's
that.
totally understandable.
Yeah.
I don't think, anyone that's a part of that movement shames anyone else for not attending. For certainly not. But
But there is some, there is a small percentage who will be like, well, you weren't there. I'm like, come on, man.
I think what they're asking for the primary focus is to not get in the way.
Of course.
Support us if you believe in it, and so you just support us, but don't get in the way of
The momentum.
the momentum of
movement.
this. And that's real. And there is some people trying to disrupt it
Okay.
or spread false rumors from what I hear.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard those rumors too.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the project, to change it a little bit up, like I'm proud of what we presented, and I think, yeah, people probably think, oh, you got time out, you got Ron. It's not about that. It was actually for Henry. Yeah, this may or may not do something for my career, but I did it for Henry mostly because the stories I heard when I met Henry, it wasn't because like, oh, I'm gonna hang out because you wrote to Jack Dude. I just want to hang out with him because you talk to him. He's a very lovable guy, very talkative, very
Yeah.
funny. He's almost relatable, like you're kind of your dad or your grandfather,
Yeah.
who's very open, not the one.
I would
that
say uncle. Like, I don't know. My dad would be
He-
very open
he-
with
he
me.
has a
Well,
great
I'm saying the one that you want, like
the dad that you want.
yeah, the
All
dad
right.
that you want, like kind of time on, So hanging out with him, I was like, great, and he was very supportive. He's like, hey kid, I love what you're doing. He gave me a couple, like 1 or 2 free books, and then I heard the struggle and what you said about the network that was supposed to pick it up and things fell through. I was like, enough is enough. I was like, Henry, you saw my work. Can I take a crack at it? He's like, sure. And then we worked it out. And at first he was thinking like, oh, is this gonna be super easy? No, motherfucker. And then when he
What
was
did you say? What would you say?
was it gonna be easy? Because he's looking at other people's work and your work, like, oh, it's probably simple. Like, shoot here, do this, get the actors. Like, no, dude,
It's not.
it's not. And then
easy.
he was on set, and of course he's the EP. He saw the finance. He's like, holy shit, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have no idea. For 1 minute of film, that's at least a few hours total in terms of preparation, planning, post-production. Just to get 1 minute complete in a film, that is a few hours. It's not a whole day
Yeah.
of filming, depending on the scene.
Yeah, I mean, that's why when Chewy was on board, I was like, this is the first time we worked together. And some people be like, oh, I don't know, we might butt heads or not work. We made it work. There was like no ego there. I was like, how do we make this work? And Jason saw me like my frustration at times, but he knew like I had a lot of on my shoulder, the finance schedule and stuff. So he was very patient. He's like, Pat, let me draw a map for you. I was like, all right, let me see it. oh yeah, no, not the scene. Yeah, let's cut here and push in, and it worked. And then next day, back on track.
That's so important.
Yeah,
that's so important to have someone like that. I think that's underrated personality trait, to have someone that could be understanding and accommodating.
Yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah,
because a lot of people will go, "How dare you?" You know.
Well,
did you get that?
I mean,
how dare you draw me a map
from the past?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, for me as a DP,
Yeah.
I'm always trying to bring your vision to life, because at the end of the day, I know what that's like. Your name's on the film, right? You're the one getting in front of people and you're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if it doesn't feel like your film, I failed.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
But your name is also on the film too.
It is on the film, right? But my job is not the director, right? My job is to see what your vision is. And if your vision was nostalgia of like those Hong Kong films, that's what I want to bring. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, of course I'm going to put my stamp on it. There's no way I can't do that. But it should all start with trying to serve your vision.
Should we tell them the Hazer story?
The Hazer, oh my God.
What? I'm sorry. What story?
I'm always, you know, as a DP.
Explain what's a Hazer first.
Yeah. What's a Hazer? I don't know.
It's like a smoke machine, but it like lingers longer.
Okay.
But me as a DP, I'm always like trying to push, and pushing means more money sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like a Hazer costs an extra how many dollars a day, and we're trying to keep it on budget, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, I need this, I need that, I need this, you know? So it's all about trying to figure out that balance. Like, where can we use it? It's like, so we use a Hazer mainly in
Two scenes.
In two scenes, right?
Yeah, the association scene and the teaser.
Association, people were smoking, so it's like, okay, let's put a Hazer in there. And it looks amazing, you know?
I bet. Yeah.
But,
and the apartment scene.
so it is about like that balance of everything.
So, I mean, I know you're still in the process of coloring it, but the texture that you're giving it is old school Hong Kong.
Yeah, definitely. Like, Jason saw the picture log and the rough cuts, and when we did the teaser, we had the teaser for a while, but we weren't ready when to post it. But he even knew, like, hey, make sure you put that grain look, and we did. And my colorist Phil totally get it, you know. And he told us like, hey, well, this is the early stages; it's not gonna look the same. I was like, yeah, and I wrote a reference, like I gave him some reference of PTU, just like I did with Jason here, Johnny Toe. So it's gonna have that look.
And that goes back to what you were saying, is like not being afraid to stand on those giants, those people that are giants in the industry, you know, and like taking that vision and making it yours. You know, we
You're
translated it, and
Yeah.
for I was looking on IMDb like what film stocks they were using, what lenses they were using, you know.
I was gonna ask you that. What did you use?
So we shot on the Alexa Mini,
Okay.
and
Very nice.
yeah, shout out to Panavision for
Yeah,
giving us that.
Oh,
that,
and what's the lighting company? The lighting
which-
company for the crime scene in the apartment.
Roscoe with
Yeah.
Martise Hill. Yeah, one of my friends from film school. He, donated some lights to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we shot on Alexa, and we had some like old vintage lenses. And this is me learning as a cinematographer too. So, being able to experiment, having the budget to experiment, that's a
Yeah.
very important
And
thing.
you had a good team, like a good solid team for the most part,
We had a
especially
great- we had a great team.
Cindy. Cindy was
How long
amazing.
did it take you to get comfortable with the camera?
I mean, I've shot. I was lucky. I've shot on the Alexa before, and
How about with those lenses, though?
with those lenses, I think it was about like, in the beginning we were like, yo, because the old Hong Kong, they were shooting anamorphic on film, right? It's like,
Anamorphic's like
yeah, let's shoot
wide.
anamorphic.
Yeah.
And Pat's like, yeah, let's shoot anamorphic. and then it's like, how much is anamorphic? It's like $5,000 a day. What?
Wow.
something crazy.
Just
Or-
like anamorphic lenses.
yeah,
like
anamorphic
set?
lenses for like the time we would need them would be like
Ridiculous.
I don't know, like
$5,000 a day. Wow.
something like half the budget. I don't know, something
insane.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
So it's about learning, like, okay, where can we play? Where's our wiggle room here?
Did you end up using anamorphic
No,
lens?
we didn't.
No, we
So,
didn't.
but we used old glass. We're trying to give it that. So we're just trying to push it to the very edge, and it's that balance. And I think it worked out.
No, you did a fantastic job because we didn't talk about, but Jason came in and he bought this little trick. I forgot
Oh, the diopter.
Diopter, which Brian De Palma uses a lot of his films, like Unforgettable, Scarface. And I was like, what is that? And then I automatically saw the monitor. I was like, oh, okay, I get that effect. You're trying to get all the actors in a cost-efficient way.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Like he even.
But that was a day of experiment.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Basically,
I hope this works.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
well, I had it in the bag, and then we came up with a problem, right? So it's about being prepared. It's like, man, we can't shoot the entire room. It's like kind of empty, you know?
Yeah.
It's like production design is like, you know, we had production design, but we couldn't do the whole room.
Yeah,
so it
Wings-
was like,
Did you guys shoot like on the 35 millimeter or
I mean, we shot
use a bunch of different depending on the
bunch
scenes?
of different lenses, yeah.
Wow.
But like having that special effect where you can bring two people
While
in a
having them
room,
focus, yeah.
having them both in focus, so you don't have to shoot the entire room. I mean, that was just like me just having that in the bag in case.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't know we were gonna use it.
And that was trust. I'd be like, what did you spend? What'd you do that? Like, he's like, no, I got it. I was like, all right, cool. And it looked fantastic. And I think that was the important thing. You know, it saved a lot of time.
Yeah.
Left me a lot of time. I think time was more crucial besides the finance. It was time.
Were you like, maybe I should push in on this shot, or maybe I should take it from you, or was it like a mixed bag between the two?
I think there was a lot of discussions beforehand. Like we would just meet and talk about shots and like scenes from films.
But things would change while you're on set.
Things would change, yeah. But
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think Pat, at some point, there was some trust built in, and then I would put on the lens, and he'd like it, and I'd ask him. I'd be like, "Hey, do you like this? Do you like this angle?" I would give him choices,
Oh, okay.
And at the end of the day, it's Patrick's film.
Right.
I can push so far, but and I can offer suggestions, but that it's like if I was a director on a film, I would want people to understand that that's going to be the vision.
That's good. You're
You know
aware
what I mean?
that you can't have two people trying to drive the car.
Yeah. And not to say I wouldn't push back, we would have discussions about it. But again, that's the collaboration.
I think that's normal and healthy to have some of that pushback, but respectfully. And if I know, for example, if I'm collaborating with someone and I know that the main primary purpose of what we're trying to do is make this as special as possible, and I know the intention is rightfully there, then I feel like we're starting off and we're having a discussion, whether we agree or not, in a very healthy manner. Therefore, I would listen to you and try to consider your point as much as possible while looking at mine and really trying to take a step back from my own ego and go, which one is he right? Is this really better for the film?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I told Jason, hey, get whatever you want, but it has to be within cost, And I just, hey, it has to be cost. And then at the end, he's like, well, I want this, I want that, I want the hazer. I was like, cost. And then I think on the third day of production, I forgot who asked you, but someone asked you, like, hey, can we get that? And then Jason automatically was like, how much is it? I was like, Jason, you got it.
There you
Oh,
go.
you know now. And
I mean, to be fair though, there were some points where I was like, man, I really want this. And I would dig into my own pocket, like that.
Everyone did in their pocket. Like, I digged in my pocket a few times too.
I would be like, you know what, I'm gonna bring this there, and if he doesn't want it, he doesn't want it. But I'm gonna at least give options,
Wow.
And for the most part, I took it, right? Your suggestion.
Yeah, I think most part.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at you guys together. I mean, I'm actually almost surprised to hear that you guys only worked together once on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see.
Most of the people on the production I worked with once. Wing, the production designer, Vera Chow, the costume designer, Yixing, our second AD, everyone, that works with anyone. It's probably the post-production people I probably worked with at least twice or three times. Yeah.
And that's huge, post-production, because you need to get people you can rely on so it doesn't just sit there.
Yeah. Well, except for our editor, Patricia. That's the first time I'm working with her. She has the full access to the film. First time I'm giving her. But yeah, man.
So who do you look to for feedback? Because at the end of it, sometimes you're so close to the project, you can't tell if it's shitty or if it's
Well, in the
really
past,
good.
I used to edit my own films, and then I had my friend Jerry, who helped me, who was like my partner. But then Jerry had to do his own thing, his personal stuff. So I didn't want to dive into that anymore. So I was like, again, trust. Who can I trust to execute my vision and give them the opportunity? So I hit up Patricia. I was like, hey, Patricia, you want to do this? She's like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, all right, cool. Here you go. And then I was expecting to be out in person, go to dailies, but then COVID happened remotely. And we were editing back and forth for 3 months, and she was very patient. And then the feedbacks, when I thought at least for the third rough draft, I was like, all right, let me get Jason and Yixing in, who were part of it. Like, I had to get Jason in because he was a camera.
Oh, for sure.
And he knew like what shots was in, or, oh shoot, there was this in the shot, remember that? Like things I probably didn't see. And Yixing, she's an amazing person. She was listening to like the Cantonese because she's from Hong Kong, and she's like a jack of all trades. And I trusted her input. So it was. I try to keep it tight, but I definitely didn't want the actor to see it yet, because you know how they are.
Yes.
Some get self-conscious about it.
Yes.
You know how you are.
Where they'll. Well, I'm from both. I'm behind and in front.
Other
right?
actors.
So it'll be like, I don't care. I don't like that part. Take it out.
Yeah.
And then the director like, it's really not that bad. Like it's good, and you kind of need that shot. And then like they get super self-conscious.
Yeah. So I made sure that I was not involved in that process. Like, Patricia, you edit yourself and let me see your first draft. And I saw it and I trusted her.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Because I want to see if she.
That's hard for directors to do.
Yes and no.
Most of the directors I know, they do not trust anyone else with their baby like that. At that level, like where they completely release it to someone else and go ahead, let me see your draft.
I mean, it's digital, so why not? You can change things like in a quick second. I mean, like Quentin Tarantino had a female editor that he trusted for Days End, So why can't I give that trust to my editor? I think Spielberg and what was his name? The guy who did Mad Max Fury, his wife was the editor, and I was like, I think her first editing gig, and she won an Oscar because he trusted her.
First editing gig, and she won an Oscar.
I mean,
crazy.
First editing gig for a feature. I think she probably did commercials, whatever.
Yep.
But I was like, wow. So I had to trust everybody. I even, should we tell them the wheelchair story?
What's the wheelchair story?
So because we're so tight, like everyone knows independent filmmaking that you use a wheelchair for a dolly shot or a tracking shot.
Right. Yeah.
So we always carried it around in case we needed it because we didn't have the proper equipment in the early stages. So when we did the fight scene, I mean the Alexa, when she built it, the camera lenses, Jason, you get to see. I don't know how much you can lift.
I'm like 2 pounds, right?
No, I don't know how much you can lift. But that
no,
thing
it's a big camera.
How big?
And it's
I don't know how
tiring
heavy,
too to hold that.
30 pounds.
Did you have it like on a vest?
Yeah, it's like 30, 40 pounds. I don't think we had we did have the vest. We had the easy rig. Yeah.
Okay.
And even him was just like, oh, tell him to run slower. I can't catch up with them. I was like, oh. and then our gaffer.
Yep.
Our gaffer said, well, I can scoop.
Arseni.
I can scoop Jason up in a wheelchair and I'll just roll with them. And he looked at me, Pat. I was like, hey, we have insurance. I trust you. Go ahead. And it was fun. And we all laughed because he was doing it. He scooped them up and zoop,
I think that's a testament to the spirit of the production. And there was just a lot of collaboration. There's openness, and everyone just wanted to make it good. I don't know if you felt that way when you're on set.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Norman, I forgot. Yeah, and
I had a bit part. Just a bit part.
But we were just like, it was tough, but we were having fun, and we were enjoying each other's company.
That's important.
And there was no egos, right?
No egos now.
So I think, I don't know. Yeah, I want more of that. It felt like a family, and I think that's what Pat built up in this.
I can't wait to see it, guys. I mean, I guess the route probably you're gonna take is festivals.
Yeah, we're trying to, but then everything's like virtual right now. So I think we're almost end of the year, so most likely 2021.
The next circuit.
Yeah, next circuit, but we'll see. And my plan is also to show the community because everyone chipped in. All the food was catered in Chinatown. No Starbucks. Like we actually got coffee from the.
So all the money went back into the community. You
Yeah,
filmed
man.
in the community, and a lot of the.
I keep
the
my
cost.
word. I even wrote that in Kickstarter. I was like, hey, we need money for food. Yeah, I can buy McDonald's and
Or
Wendy's
pizza or something like that.
Well, we had pizza once because I couldn't eat Chinese food anymore. after
Well, Chinese fast food, right?
no, just like
Bro,
what's Mason, Hop Sing.
There was a lot of bows too.
a lot of bows. I couldn't eat anymore. I was like, I'm done, man.
A lot of bows and milk tea.
And I asked the people first, like, hey, can we get pizza, please? And they're like, yes, let's get pizza. So Yixing got some pizza, and it was good pizza.
That's funny.
But yeah, all the drinks and stuff, except for water and stuff like that, was from the community. Like, I want to give the money back,
Yep.
and the community give us a discount. You know, shout out to downstairs NB Wing Wong. They gave us a great catering service. Asian Roma May, who runs that place, she catered us on the first day. Everyone was happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's important, giving back to the community. I mean, that's a beautiful thing, man. And you kept your word, and I think credibility, your credibility and your integrity speaks for itself. And that's why I can't wait to see that film. I mean, I'm excited. No pressure, but
I've been getting that since the Kickstarter ended.
Day one of
He's used to it. He's used to the
day one
pressure
of
now.
pre-prop.
yeah, no. You know what?
Yeah.
I think you have your ear closely to the ground, and I think you can sense what's going on. And I think you know what you have in this film and the potential of it. And I also think when it does get into those film festivals, it's going to do really well, and it's going to be one of the stands. I think people are going to write about it, and I think a lot of people, hopefully, I think it's going to be one of those short films that sells out.
I'm hoping too, but I'm going to worry about that until we finish it. But the film wouldn't be as is if it wasn't for the people involved, you know?
Yeah, like I was going to say before that, this is about also people reaching back and helping the people that are coming up, right? Ty, Vera, Wing. I mean, they're actors, production designers, wardrobe people. You need those people to make your movie look good, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that they went into the industry, like we're not in the industry. You know, these guys are in the industry. They built up their skills and they came back and they supported young filmmakers, you know, and they gave us a chance. So shout out to them giving us an opportunity to make the film much better, raising the level.
Absolutely, because I didn't know what was the budget, how much thing was cost, but Wing's like, I like to help you. I was like, I don't know if we can afford you. He's our production designer, and this is the trust going back. Jason was saying we need one. I'm like, how? I mean, like, you kind of have it set up. It's like, no, you don't know how the play is. It's a collaboration. I was like, okay. So I finally said yes, and Wing did a fantastic job. Like, I didn't know that his props on the, let's say, a lamp on the corner plays effect with the cinematography with Jason. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that.
And it's easy for someone like Wing because he's built up that skill set. You know, so people up there, you know, I feel like you've heard about that. People reaching back. Yeah, we need more people reaching back and like pulling us up.
Yeah, you gotta get Wing on this podcast. Like, the guy has so much history.
Oh man,
because he's
He'd want to come on.
I gotta ask. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
Vera
too. Well, Vera's currently out of state. She's working on a TV show. But with Wing and Ty, they actually have a history with Henry.
Would Ty want to come on?
I don't know about that. That guy's busy, man.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
He doesn't live in New York. He
lives in the West Coast.
Kelly, right?
I mean, it makes more sense for him. Yeah. I mean, the guy he is a New York native.
Yeah. He grew up in Staten Island.
Yeah. And man, if you ever get the chance to hear the stories about him growing up, it's precious.
That's what I'm into, because Jeff told me some of the stories about Ty, and I'm going, wow, like people need to hear it.
Not just that, but it's also nice because he's trusting you and he's giving you that slice of his life, and I felt really honored just to hear it. You know, all you have to do is shut the fuck up and listen. You know, but those guys have a connection with Henry because they grew up together. Like Henry and Ty would tell him, like, yeah, I knew him 17, 18. I'm like, God damn, you guys have gone that far? It's amazing, you know. But
because they're in the creative space too, I think for us, we can look up to them and be like, oh man, yeah, we want to be there. We want to be successful as artists and creatives.
They kind of set the blueprint for you guys, and they you strive to get to that level.
And they have that spark for that creativity that, you know, we hope we can keep going for a long time.
Yeah,
they're still in it. And
not many people are friends or are in different field. Like, Wing's in production design, Ty's an actor, Henry's an author, Victor's is in behind the camera. I was like, wow, these guys are friends, and they didn't go like a banker or you know, accountant or whatever, you know.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, they seem very happy and healthy, and their friendship still remains alive, and they have incredible stories. Whereas you go to a predictable life. I mean, I know my brother is a banker, and I know other people in finance, and they all cannot wait to retire. They're already thinking of an exit strategy. They're doing it as a survival gig.
But that's the thing. We need those people because they're the people kind of behind Go House. They're the ones that are financially secured, and if they could, like your brother can give back. I'm not saying all your paycheck, just like a little percentage. Like, hey, let me buy out a theater just for my community. We need that because they can change the game.
But what I'm saying is, I think we need more people to do what they love instead of following the safe, stable route.
I think if you have the instinct for it, you should try and pursue it.
Right. Doing what you love, but assuming that you're actually competent at it, right? Where people will want to see your work and pay you for it. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're gonna have bills to pay.
Yeah.
I don't want to mislead everyone and say, do what you love and completely, you're
gonna be okay.
Have a cup shaking coins out, and then doing what you love. But
I'm still doing that.
I think,
the starving artist life.
But that said, we thank you guys for coming by.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and sharing your story. It is beautiful, and I really can't wait to see this. A father, son. Is there anything you guys want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely find the project at Detective Jack Yu Official on Instagram and Facebook page. We usually keep the update, like what's going on with the production, and you can find me on Twitter on Chen Shihao or Instagram Pat Mender.
And Jason, how do people find you?
I'm on Instagram too, but I'd never update. So if you want to look at that,
plug yourself.
It's at Chu Chomp.
Okay.
Chu Chomp.
Do you have a website as well?
I do. JasonChu.com.
Go on over to our YouTube if you're interested. And in one of the clips that we have of Pat and Chewy, you click on anyone and you can find their information there. Yep. And you can follow them. And I'm telling you guys, these are the guys to watch out for.
Thanks,
because they're on that path. And
they're on the right game.
Yeah, the world is certainly moving towards that. And I think they're at the forefront of it. So check it out.
All right. Lucky Boys out.